Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Prabhat Nair, Honorary Secretary of IAA Malaysia. Welcome to the IAA Malaysia Brands Matter Future Leader Series webinar. This is an initiative of IAA Malaysia, and Future Leader Series is the first by an IAA chapter anywhere in the world. Future Leader Series is conceptualized to be in partnership with established tertiary institutions in Malaysia, hence the future leader in the name. University Technology Mara is the first tertiary institution IAA Malaysia partnered with, and with UiTM, in particular with the Faculty of Communications and Media Studies, we ran the first episode on 13 November 2021. And this second episode is with UiTM too. 2022 is a momentous year for UiTM as it marks the 50th anniversary of the much lauded Faculty of Communications and Media Studies. Here is Associate Professor Dr. Masila Hamza, Dean of the Faculty of Communications and Media Studies, with an introduction to this evening's session.
The Honorable Mr. John D. Cheko, President, International Advertising Association, Malaysia Chapter, Adjunct Professor, Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, UiTM. Mr. Omar Shari, Vice President, International Advertising Association, Malaysia Chapter, who is also our panel expert for tonight's webinar. Dr. Shifa Faisal, Head, Center of Strategic Communication, Faculty of Communication and Media Studies. Respected lineups of panelists, the faculty management team, all faculty members, and esteemed students. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my heartiest appreciation to IAA Malaysia Chapter and Mr. John Cheko in particular for organizing this important academic industry leadership series, which will lend knowledge and visibility to our fellow students. Alhamdulillah, praise to Allah for the opportunity to enrich ourselves academically in today's Future Leaders Series 2 with the most relevant and important discussion on sustainability, a catchphrase or a must for brands. Distinguished guests, the program organized today is close to our heart and befitting UiTM's agenda in championing the issue of Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 17. Events such as this further create visibility for MASCOM as we celebrate our 50th anniversary this year. We are honored to receive today's respected panels of experts, more interestingly, 3 of which are our very own alumni, and this makes it very meaningful for us. Welcome home, Mr. Surya, Ms. Hawa, and Dr. Vidi. I am very confident that today's discussion will provide exposure to students on the development and advancement of academic values in the field of advertising, which looks beyond the organic ecosystem of just doing business as usual. We will listen to our experts today and further understand how brands should embrace sustainability in marketing and branding exercise. Truly, such issues are crucial in today's world where our roles are defined not just on how we live our lives, but most importantly, the indelible prints that we leave behind. In the perspective of advertising world, for instance, this notion goes on to positively create the influence that the brands design for us. This is contingent when the issue of sustainability is thrust into the equation. It will then microscopically discern how brands serve to safeguard our beloved planet using technology and social platforms in the curation of sustainable branding. This is empirical to unfold the all-encompassing issues concerning the correlation between brands and consumers. I am interested to understand further how our panels tonight gauge these two stakeholders in complementing each other's traits to significantly contribute in reducing our carbon footprints, which is the end, contribute to net zero emissions. Such deep and rich discussion from all who are present today will definitely lend credentials and greatly improve our views on industry-driven issues that can be challenging to scour within the conventional classroom settings. And as for you, my dear students, you will have the opportunity to be in the forefront of leveraging such knowledge from the experts in the world of advertising. Ladies and gentlemen, the collaboration between industry and academia is indeed crucial to ensure our students' relevancy in the open market. As the first full-fledged communication and media studies faculty in Malaysia, MASCOM has perpetually ensured the supply and demand for communication graduates at significant level for media industry. And our interdisciplinary and market-driven approach and its relationship to the industry needs have made MASCOM stand through the test of time in making our students susceptible and resilient to change in vast landscape of various industries. It is my sincere hope that you will take this golden opportunity to obtain useful input, especially in exploring the essence, activities, and impact of the world of advertising through contrasting lenses from the captains of the industry and academia. Do ask questions and give feedback so we will be able to acquire a holistic viewpoint ranging from academia to industry to digital natives such as you. I would like to extend my gratitude to all individuals involved directly or indirectly leading to success of this webinar. Hopefully, the knowledge shared can be utilized and applied by our students in their study and future careers. With that, I thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Masila, for the time and the effort in recording that warm video. Now, a message from Mr. John Chako, President of IAA Malaysia.
Good evening and greetings to Dr. Masila Hamza, Dean of the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, faculty members, alumni of UITM, members of the panel, the moderator, and importantly, students from Malaysia and overseas. The IAA Brands Matter Future Leaders Series is the first of its kind in IAA globally. After the first successful event in November last year with UITM, IAA decided to have a second episode, and this time to talk about brands and sustainability. It also coincides with the 50th anniversary of UITM Faculty of Communication and Media Studies. It is a critical topic that embodies the challenging times we live in and calls on academia and students as our future leaders to discuss the role of brands in sustainability. It's not an overstatement to say that the planet is in crisis or even on a burning platform from the effects of climate change, floods, famine, forest fires, soil degradation, damage to oceans and marine life, and much more. Our lives and the planet we live in will not be the same and may not be sustainable unless we act now. That's why we need you as future leaders of good to be fully engaged. Now, when we say future leaders, we generally think of corporate leaders, government leaders, academic leaders, and others in position of power and influence. Future leaders here is all about you. Future leaders of good. Leaders doing good to create better lives and a better world for all. Here at IAA, We believe that what is good for humanity and the planet is good for brands and businesses. Thank you, Dr. Masila and the faculty, the panelists, the moderator, members of IAA Executive Committee for putting this webinar together, and importantly to the thousands of students who will be watching this webinar live and recorded versions of this webinar on different platforms. I am sure you will have an interesting discussion on this topic that affects all of us now and into the future. It's time we heard your perspective on this matter as our future leaders of good. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, in today's session, the theme is sustainability, a catchphrase or a must for brands. Voices calling for brands to be accountable and responsible in upholding the values of sustainability reverberate around the world, especially among millennials and Gen Z who are increasingly more socially conscious. In the context of environmental, social, and governance, ESG pillars, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, UN SDG, brands are clamoring to tick the boxes in a journey to placate opinionated customers, to look politically correct, and to being in tune with evolving global sentiment in the face of climate change and inequality. Social media platforms are rife with posts from brand loyalists who boldly claim to have ditched their favorite brands in protest over the brand's slow non-compliance with the sustainability principles as avowed by the said brand loyalists. In view of consumers putting their money where their mouth is for brands to survive into the future, is sustainability a by-the-way thing for brands or a principle to be embedded with? This episode will discuss and deliberate on how brands matter in their adherence to sustainability. Allow me to introduce our esteemed panelists for this evening. Omar Shari, Vice President, IAA Malaysia, and a seasoned brand person in the advertising industry. Hawa Rizwana Redwan, TV personality and entrepreneur, alumna of Faculty of Communications and Media Studies, UiTM. Dr. Widi Sukmayadi, lecturer, Communications Department, University Pendidikan Indonesia, alumnus of Faculty of Communications and Media Studies, UiTM, and Suryadipura Saleh, Creative Director, Naga DDB Tribal, alumnus of Faculty of Communications and Media Studies, UiTM. Our session is more like a platform where while a particular question may be directed at a particular panelist, it is also open to the others to provide a view/opinion. My first question will be directed to Omar Shari. Hot and humid weather, heavy rains over extended periods, regular occurrence of floods, climate change has disrupted the regular cycle of seasons. How should brands approach, practice, and promote sustainability in the wake of consumers being increasingly aware of current and future effects from climate change? Omar?
Thank you, Prabha. Assalamualaikum and a very pleasant good evening. Well, I'm no expert in climate change or sustainability. However, as an occupant of planet Earth, we must know that every one of us produce carbon footprint. The average carbon footprint of a US citizen is 16 tons per annum, and the global average per person is 5 tons. And for this reason alone, climate change and sustainability is everyone's business. So whether like it or not, we'll have to know a little bit about this matter. And as I spent almost my entire career in advertising and branding, I will focus my talk tonight largely on what I do best. And I would like to leave with you all with one single thought, even though I could be spending quite a number of minutes talking about this. Now, from a branding perspective, every brand should have a brand purpose. A brand purpose is the brand's moral reason for being and what it stands for, aside from making a profit and other commercial reasons. It largely deals with finding a reason for the brand's existence and using it to help its customers. Brand purpose should not be confused with brand promise. Brand promise is the functional or emotional benefit associated with the brand. Brand purpose is essentially the why behind a company. This why allows the brand to show customers the values it holds and the noble cause it hopes to achieve or contribute to. It gives customers a chance to do business with a brand that supports a certain cause or a way of life. In branding, there are three main components, which are the what, the how, and the why. Now, any company can tell you what they do and how they do it, but very few can articulate why they do it well enough. Now, let me give you an example of the what. So this company might say, we manufacture electric vehicles or electric cars. And the how could be, our cars can go 700 kilometers on a single charge. Is that a good proposition? It probably is a good proposition. Would you consider buying a car? Maybe, perhaps. But what happens tomorrow if another car manufacturer says, my car can go 800 kilometers on a single charge? Now, in the case of Tesla, here's their why or brand purpose. Accelerate the world's transition to a sustainable energy. If you notice in their brand purpose or the why, there's not even a mention of the car. Tesla don't just make cars, but they also make sustainable homes. They actually produce roof tiles with solar panels embedded in them, and it comes with a 25 years warranty. Then, of course, as we know, there's also SpaceX. So that's just to articulate the difference between the what, the how, and the why. But what I'm focusing on brand purpose is the why. Now, a brand purpose enables your brand to connect with consumers on a personal level. This is important as customers are becoming increasingly invested in brands that have a purpose. Now, 52% of customers say they are more attracted to buy from brands if they stand for something bigger than just the products and services they sell, especially if it aligns with their own personal goals. 71% customers say they prefer to buy from a purpose-driven brand over another one should the cost and quality be the same. 72% of customers say they would forgive a brand or a company with a brand purpose if it made a mistake. Wow, that's quite mind-blowing to me. Hence, when a customer sees a logo of a purpose-driven brand, they'll associate it with being compassionate, responsible, and ethical. In a nutshell, when brands exhibit a brand purpose, they are effectively standing out among competitors, improving their reputation, gaining ideas for marketing, and branding with customers and their values. As brands seek to scale, grow, and differentiate themselves from others in their field, they'll need to have their brand purpose on full display. Now, when I say full display, the brand purpose is not something that you frame and hang in the CEO's office and that's it, and everyone forgets about it except the CEO. It has to be visible to both its internal and external stakeholders. So what has brand purpose got to do with sustainability and climate change? The answer is everything. And to exemplify this, I'd like to end the first part of my talk with a video. Over.
Oh, thank you, Omar, for your insights. And as usual, you've done a lot of research to pick out figures, to go and establish your points. Okay, I would like to open up the floor to the other panelists. Would y'all have anything to go and add? Wawa, would you have anything to go and add to Encik Omar Shari's insights?
Okay, yes, sure. Okay, may I? Okay, hello everyone, Assalamualaikum. I'm Hawa Rizwana, and I was an alumni at Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, UiTM Shah Alam. And currently I'm working with TV3, and I just started working in 2017. It's nice to see all of you here. And my perspective as a consumer and media practitioner. And I started working as a journalist, and I've worked in radio as well. And I've interviewed some NGOs and those who fought for the sustainability, and everyone who has worked with certain brands. And me myself, I've worked with some brands. And when we're talking about sustainability, allow me to mention these two brands as an example. And those two brands are Lush and Body Shop. And Lush is a cosmetic and beauty product. And when talking about sustainability, as a consumer, what I want from a brand is for the brands to be transparent, because certain brands, you can see that they've been advertising themselves. They've been saying that they have eco-friendly products, go green. They've been saying just that, just on the surface. But I think as a consumer, we want to see more. We don't want it to see just as a catchphrase or just as your quotes. So, Lush and Body Shop is a great example, because I worked with Lush. They have body soap, they have shampoo, they have lotion, and they've how they market themselves as products who believe in taking care of the environment is by collaborating with other companies and brands as well. For example, with Grand Hyatt Hotel in Kuala Lumpur, and they sponsored some celebrities, some NGOs and social media influencers to work with Lush and to spend nights at Grand Hyatt. Probably it sounds like a vacation, but at the same time, they educate the influencers and everyone who went there, who joined the campaign about the products. So from there, we know about their products. They use, for example, as recycling product, they use raw materials. They use certain oils that are earth-friendly as their soap base, and they work to remove all products and encourage other companies to do the same. So when they collab with certain hotels and other brands, I think it is good for all brands to promote their objective to take care of the environment. And from that, we can see the transparency of the brands in taking care of the environment. To me, even though, to me, it is important for the brands to be very transparent, but instead of saying they have, the products are eco-friendly, I think they should say that they have the objective to take care of the environment instead of just saying it on the surface. So that's my stand as a consumer. In brands, I'd like to see these brands to be transparent about taking care of the environment.
Thank you very much, Wawa. That is quite interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, now on to the second question, and this question is directed at Dr. Widi. In emerging economies and third world countries, livelihoods take precedence over principles of sustainability, which is regarded as a first world or developed nation concern. How can consumers in emerging economies and third world countries create a wave of movement to trigger brands to take the lead in addressing the matters of sustainability? Dr. Vidi?
All right. Thank you very much, Prabha. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, before I go to your question, I'd like to greet fellow participants here from Indonesia, from Malaysia, and wherever you are. Selamat malam. Good evening, everyone. I hope you all in good health. And congratulations to IAA and for the UITM Faculty of Communication and Media Studies for the great 50 years of history. All right. So in respect to that question, first, we have to take note that we cannot generalize the consumers, right? So yes, the third world countries, they still have problems in terms of awareness towards environment. But we have to go with a more, let's say, well-educated segment. We can go with the younger groups because they could create the initiative to, let's say, persuade brands for taking care more on environment. So let's say that the Generation Z, Generation Y, millennials, they can start this initiative. So we can start from those customer segment. And I like to have an example from my own country. So this is about in 2017, the river Citarum was dubbed the dirtiest river in the world. 300 kilometers long. So I'm sure that my friends from Indonesia can concur this. So 300 kilometers long, dirtiest, flood and industrial waste everywhere. And it's becoming toxic and dangerous for the health of the environment and also the people surrounding it. Then it's been 2 decades, nothing happened. Until once, in 2016, there was a YouTuber, a French but raised in Bali, Indonesia, took a took a boat and took a journey across that river for 300 kilometers and posted on Facebook. And it went viral. And then the other influencers took part on that campaign. And this campaign creating a buzz that could pressure other parties. This is interesting because social media, the nature of social media is creating the illusion of interactivity. So they can poke directly, they can target directly those brands or even the government. Because sometimes if the buzz didn't strong enough to tag or to poke the companies, they could collaborate with the government. And in this case, the military took action. And subsequently, the government also participated in that. And they created policies and they created a long-term planning for 2025. So the river should be clear and can be drink again. And Alhamdulillah, so far from 700 companies along those rivers, 600 of them are subjected to the new regulation, and they have created the integrated wastewater management, industrial wastewater management. And now it's becoming clearer and it's safe for everyone. So this is a good initiative, and I can assume that this is part of the bottom-up initiative, then creating a buzz and then collaborate with certain persons, certain organization, and push those brands to be more care more about the environment. And that was a good example. And I think we have to start from the younger generation. I believe that's the way how to do it. So you create a buzz and then collaborate and be persistent on your campaign. So inshallah, the environment will get better. I hope it's clear enough, Prabha.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vidi. I think, in this instance, when we're talking about brands, that exercise of cleansing the river and what it was known, what the river was known as those days as the dirtiest river in the world, it does help elevate the brand of Indonesia to that they're getting more and more caring for the environment. Would I be right in saying that?
Yes, I have. This is in line with Inchi Omar previously, that not only the customer, I remember that the EY Global Survey for Investment said that the investor now take notice about the ESG and SDG. So 90% of them are willing to invest for companies who are taking part in green recovery. So yes, so now everyone, I can tell like 60% of the companies along the river now, they are supporting and promoting with their projects and programs to support cleansing and maintaining the river, so it's always clear for the next generations.
See, Dr. Vidi, this also, you can also attribute this to the herd mentality. If, for example, one brand or one company begins to do it, then another company will feel embarrassed. I too should go and follow the benchmark set by this company. So all the other companies would think that, okay, I've got to get into this league where I've got to show that I'm caring. And like they say, unless it's seen to be done, it's just, lip service, you see. So what you're saying is actually true, So, like you say, 60 over companies along the banks of the river in their businesses, they begin to take active action to make sure that what used to happen does not happen anymore. So I think this does a lot of good for the brands themselves and also for Indonesia itself, as it seems like people are beginning to get involved. See, the thing is that like Indonesia, Malaysia too is an emerging economy, and we too have issues on our own. So if everyone plays a part, then it does help brand Malaysia too. So I would think, yes, that is a good point that you have raised. Omar, would you like to add anything to what Dr. Vidi has said?
Yeah, sure. I still think that we should give a chance to some of the other speakers who haven't spoken, but since I'll try to be short. Okay, firstly, let me qualify that sustainability is not just about the environment. There are basically three pillars to sustainability. That's environment, society, and economy, and they are known also as 3Ps: planet, people, and profits. If you look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 of them, and the first 6 of them deal with third world issues. 1, no poverty. 2, zero hunger. 3, good health and well-being. 4, quality education. 5, gender equality. 6, clean water and sanitation. So I think these are relevant to 4, quality education, to the third world. So hence, we need more brands to embrace brand purpose even in these third world markets. But brand purpose should not be confused with CSR. Donating millions of dollars or supplying tons of rice to the hungry is not brand purpose. Philanthropy is not a brand purpose. Brand purpose is not only good for planet and people, it's also good for profits, regardless whether your brand operates in a third world or a first world. And part of your question was asking about what can consumers do. From a consumer perspective, one way is to create waves to produce more climate activists, the likes of Greta Thunberg, who will not only put pressure on governments, but also corporations and brands to commit to sustainability and climate change. Now, who is this Greta Thunberg? Greta Thunberg is a 19-year-old Swedish environmental activist who is known for challenging world leaders to take immediate action for climate change mitigation. You can say in the environmental sphere, she is like a rock star, and she's a 19-year-old rock star. She is in Time's 100 most influential people and the youngest Time person of the year. Forbes lists her as one of the world's 100 most powerful women, and she's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, 2020, and 2021. When she attended the UN Climate Action Summit in 2019, she sailed in a yacht to North America so as to reduce her own carbon footprint. So to our young audience tonight, our future leaders, I would like to see more of you to step up to the plate and be the next Greta Thunberg. Gary, perhaps you can share the video. Hopefully it works this time. Thank you. Gary, can you play the video?
Sorry, Omar. We're having some technical issues with the
Okay,
video.
we'll skip that as well then. Yeah, go ahead, Prabha.
Okay, Surya, do you do you have anything to go and add to the views or the insights provided by Omar and Dr. Vidi?
Well, I think the question addresses third world country, right?
Yeah, and emerging economies.
Yeah, and emerging. I think it's quite similar to what's interesting about all these things. Quite like Auntie Omar also mentioned, right? The 17 SDGs is not just about environmental, right? So it's quite similar. If you look at it, right, there's a similar pattern here, right? Like gender equality, for example, like the country that paved the way are usually first world nations, but the more rampant countries that's facing the issues are actually third world or developing countries, right? But I think it's very simple. I think it's great that we have heroes, right? But I think most importantly, for consumers, right, everyone can play a role, right? And I think create the demand. I think that's what we can do in third world countries or developing nation, right? So first of all, people need to be educated about the importance to choose a sustainable lifestyle. But the good thing, even in third world country, everyone has a mobile phone and at least a social media account. So this is important in getting people to be informed, educated, and of course, inspired to make that change, right? So, and this is important because I think small steps matter, right? While we celebrate all these big heroes, right? Everyone can be a change agent. When you make that decision, when you start recycling and you start making the conscious effort, right, to go for a more sustainable choice in your lifestyle, right? Share it on your social media. Create that wave, create that impression, right, to the businesses that there's demand for this sustainable lifestyle, right?
I think Mr. Surya is muted.
Oh my God, I've been speaking so much and okay.
No. It's just for the last 30 seconds. It's okay.
Yeah, I think, okay, I'll cut it short. The most important thing is create that demand, right? What I was saying is like there's the electric cars, the technology has existed a long time ago, but because of the wave, right, the belief that there's a strong demand for more eco-friendly products, that's where business step into it. And when business step into it, like our earlier panelists have said, right, one corporation started doing it, the other 5 or 10 or 20 will feel bad, for not stepping up, for not being up to the game. So, yeah.
Thank you, Surya. Interesting view. Okay, now we have a question for Hawa Rizwana. Social media platforms have emerged as the de facto channel to learn of global concerns over sustainability, particularly among millennials and Gen Z. How can we use social media more effectively in lobbying brands to do the right thing when it comes to embracing sustainability?
Okay, thank you. I really agree with Auntie Suryadi before I answer the question, because I'd like to add on, I think the one of the challenges in developing countries or developing nations when it comes to sustainable products are we know that these products are more expensive than the normal ones. And it is very, very important to educate the people as well. But in the end, the challenge is these products are really, really expensive to compare. For example, a t-shirt, eco-friendly t-shirt, it costs about 200 ringgit compared to the normal ones. It can easily cost like 70 ringgit. So I think it is very important for these brands to show why these products are a bit more costly than the normal ones. And that's just my perspective and opinion. And about social media, how can these platforms help in sustainability? I think right now everyone has their own gadgets, everyone has their own phones, and for brands, I really hope that the way they advertise their products, their eco-friendly products, are not too hard sell. I think it is time for them to be more subtle. And I've been listening to this one radio station and how they've been doing their PSA about plastics. It is very subtle, but very eye-opening. They said they are killers, and the killers are suffocating. But they're talking about plastics and turtles, but how they, I don't remember the script, but it was very impactful. So I think it is very important for these brands to collab or to work with social media influencers, not only because of their followers, but because the influencers has their own stance and objectives, so that how they convey the message is truthful and their audience can see it, that these brands, they don't only want to promote their products, but they want to share their objective and why it is important to purchase product or to use product that is eco-friendly to help to save the environment. So I think firstly, to recap, the brands should be transparent, they should be more subtle, no more hard sell, because I've been working with some products and they still want to, they still want the conventional, the traditional style of advertising. And I think this is 2022 and people are so smart right now, and they should go more subtle about it. And they should work with influencers with the same objective, not just because of their fame and not just because of their followers.
I think, Hawa, you know, when you mentioned about that t-shirt costing 200 ringgit versus a normal one, 70, I can empathize with that. I still remember about 25 years ago, I think that was before you were born. Anyway, so I used to buy greeting cards, you know, and I still do. So when I look at the Hallmark cards, I noticed that the cards that are made out of recycled paper is almost twice to, I would say 3 times the price of a normal card, you know?
Yeah.
So when, you know, so you see, when you're looking at an emerging economy or a third world country, you know, people start thinking twice, you know, do I have to pay 3 times more? You know, then you start thinking that. Okay, but in a developed country, for example, if you were to go to a furniture fair about 10 years ago, for example, in Cologne, which I think has got the largest furniture fair, you would find furniture from different parts of the world. When you have a furniture, let's say a chair, that says that it comes from sustainable origins, and you have that sticker that says that, the buyers, for example, from Scandinavia, are willing to pay a premium for that particular chair because they know that the retailers will be able to go and sell it, because the end buyers in Scandinavian countries are educated from young to think about the environment. Yeah. So, you know, so when you're brought up in that, you're willing to pay a higher price, you see, for that, you know. So that's how, you know, if you're looking at, I know, when you brought up the thing, I could resonate with that, you know. Yeah, very true, you know. Dr. Vidi, do you have anything to add from your perspective?
Yes, in terms of lobbying brand. So in practice, yeah, we cannot go alone. Yeah. So united we're strong. So they have to have had a plan. So planning, create a content. You cannot just take a single shot and that's it. No, they won't hear it. So in lobbying brands, planning is important. So planning, create your social media content, create your angle, and then collaborate. Influence others, build the reputation so everyone could have the similar mission, and then enunciate it. And then you go state your purpose. I'd like to brands to do something about it. So after you have planned all that thing, the next thing is just be persistent with your social media campaign. Be persistent with that. So if brands or even policy makers hear messages from a number of platforms, for example, and different channels, then they are more likely to take notes. And finally, you can use traditional media. Yeah, traditional media is still effective to support your persistence in social media. Because why people still value traditional media, more prestigious than social media. For example, if we can see our campaign printed in newspaper or in published or had an interview with Mbak Yana in TV3, it creates more prestigious and then ask your followers to repost them. Yeah, because those domino effect is great when you combine social media and traditional media. It happens with some brands in, I think, Asian brands, when they are campaigning using social media, but at the same time they use billboards in Times Square or even in Bukit Bintang, for example, and then they ask their followers to take pictures and repost it. So the campaign is getting bigger, the buzz is getting bigger, and brands will listen if the campaign is well planned and persistent. Thank you, Prabhat.
Thank you, Dr. Vidi. Okay, my next question is directed at Suryadi. There are allegations thrown at brands that their so-called sustainability practices are nothing more than greenwashing. How does calling out brands that engage in greenwashing damage their brand equity?
All right. First of all, I think the damage. I think one of the biggest damage. I think I'd like to recall 2015. If you remember the Volkswagen fiasco. So Volkswagen, or in German, right, the people's car, used to be the hero of all these, environmental issues. This is way before your Teslas and whatnot, right? And in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, Volkswagen, aka the people's car, was caught with their pants off. So they caught cheating, right, by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and they found out that they installed like a device that they basically in over 500,000 diesel motor vehicles, right? Volkswagen has violated the Clean Air Act as they actually cheat, right, to make sure they come up with a good result, right? So the vehicles were equipped with like defeat devices in the form of a computer software, which was designed to cheat on the emission tests. So of course, the emission test looks good on Volkswagen, but they got caught, right? And they were brought to the court. It's one of the biggest crises in history, and it cost the car maker more than 32 billion euros. That's like 37 point something billion, I think. So in vehicle refits, fines, legal costs, they have to recall, right? That's a lot of money, right? But you can always gain back money quite easily for these guys, not me. I'm not that good with money, but the bigger damage is what it does to the brand, right? People who used to die, I have German friends who's like, Volkswagen, like I asked them about other cars, you know, Porsche, whatever, like, no, I'm all for the people's car, right? Because they're kinder to the earth and whatnot. When this happened, right, these guys who used to be so loyal to them become their haters. They feel cheated, right? So it's not going to be easy to win back the trust from their once loyal customers. I think this is also the reason why a lot of corporations today are a lot more careful in greenwashing. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that there was a time when, you know, companies could just run an ad to say that, you know, they're doing the right thing for the future of the earth and whatnot. Gone are the days when you can do that. You know, we're living in a in an information era that people can dig out information about your companies, right? So you got to walk the talk, or else somebody will call out your brand and they're going to embarrass your brand, and that's not something easy to be fixed. I think another interesting example, very similarly, because it links back to the power of social media. I think in International Women's Day, Twitter created a very clever and naughty bot, you know, because, you know, a lot of CEOs, big bosses, chairmen and all that, they like to tweet, you know, Happy International Women's Day. So basically, they created this bot that can find information immediately on their gender pay gap of the company and retweet, right? So they share like, oh, this guy said Happy International Women's Day, but guess what? The gender pay gap in their company is this much and this much. So you guys are, you know, just, you know, you guys not walking the talk.
You know, Surya, that's an interesting thing on the, well, let's call it Dieselgate of America when it involves the people's car. You know, when, you know, some brands actually do walk the talk. For example, you know, if memory serves me right, Net Geo, the magazine, a few decades ago, they refused to accept print ads from fossil fuel companies, you know, because they felt, as you know, Net Geo, they always publish things for the environment and everything. So they, you know, that they never did. So although that is big money, because as you know, energy companies have got tons of money to go and throw, you know, next to tobacco companies. But Net Geo, if memory serves me right, you know, refused to accept ads from any energy companies promoting their product, you see. But I do recall that later on, when energy companies came up with campaigns to improve the environment, they did accept those ads, particularly on what they're doing for the environment, you know. You know, for decades, you know, you had BP, you know, the energy company, which was known as British Petroleum. And in mid 2000, I mean, that's about 20 over years ago, they actually changed their name from British Petroleum to Beyond Petroleum, because that stigma on energy companies, especially fossil fuel companies, on damaging the environment became such an issue that they took the first step and decided to do something. But more than that, they actually changed their name. They actually changed the name of the brand, but it is still BP, except from British Petroleum is now Beyond Petroleum. So they actually walk the talk. So you have things like Net Geo and BP walking the talk. You know? So yeah, that is a very interesting perspective that you would actually put across on about the Dieselgate. Now, this, I don't know whether you can see this, but oh, I don't think, but there was an ad that appeared in the Sunday Times of the UK yesterday, where the ad said, you know, have you owned or leased a diesel Volvo in the last 13 years? You could be entitled to significant compensation. Then they named the legal firm, has already helped thousands of VW drivers and is now bringing legal claims for Volvo drivers. It's quick and easy to find out if you can make a claim. So, you know, you have all these Dieselgate, you know, claims going on, but it seems to be more in the developed countries, you see, where there is consumer action to take action, you know. Excuse me. Are there any other viewpoints on this particular question in terms of whether brands are greenwashing or are they actually walking the talk? You know, Omar, you have handled many top brands, global top brands. Would you have any opinions, views, viewpoints on this?
Okay, I mean, it's very interesting what Surya have shared with us. So I'm not going to, I'll try to avoid any duplication. What I want to share is that greenwashing doesn't just hurt brands. It also hurts society, environment, and the economy. So all three pillars of sustainability. However, of equal concern and importance, is there a common currency or standards that clarify who does what exactly to achieve net zero by 2050? Never mind whether we can achieve net zero 2050, even if we do everything that we're supposed to do according to what the United Nations SDG is all about. So are there agreed standards and SOPs? Because without agreed standards, are we able to call out those real culprits of greenwashing? Okay. Take Saudi Aramco, for example. They pledge to achieve operational net zero by 2050. Now, this is a promise to reach net zero only for its operational carbon emissions. Now, what about the CO2 emissions produced by indirect CO2 emissions produced by burning oil it sells to clients in their cars, power plants, and furnaces? So, who can we say? So, can we say this is a form of greenwashing? I bet Saudi Aramco will beg to differ, and they are not alone. So these are the challenges that we have to deal with. And just to talk a little bit about the net zero by 2050, because according to scientists, if we left things as they are now, the global warming will reach 3.5% by the end of the century. So what is net zero 2050 is to bring that down to 1.5. What I read somewhere is that even if we were to do everything that we're supposed to do, the temperature will still rise by about 3 degrees. And guess what, Dr. Vidi? Where is the fastest sinking city in the world? It's Jakarta. By 2050, 1/3 of Jakarta will sink, at least if nothing is being done. And I think that's why your government is moving your capital to Nusantara, which is on the east coast of the Borneo Island. Yeah, that's my input. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Omar. Dr. Vidi, Wawa, do you have any opinions or views to add about brands greenwashing?
Yeah.
Or are they going to, or do they actually walk the talk?
Well, Prabha, I'd like to highlight it on the damage part. So in terms of the damage, if they are allegedly proved to be practicing greenwashing, first, it depends on where the country where they are operational. If, for example, environment has become the core values of the people, for example, as in Scandinavian countries, the damage is it's far bigger rather than it happens in other countries that has a lower level of environment. So when the environment awareness become the core values, the damage is will getting real. But next thing is it depends on the brand itself. If it's a local brand, the damage is beyond imagination. They could close their business. But if it's a multi-billion brands or multinational brand, they still could survive, but probably, like you said, in BP, they need to rebranding it, but they still can survive. But for that, we have to be aware with today's canceling culture, Prabha. Because the social media, they can easily cancel everything, especially if in particular country. Do you remember Oatly? Oatly is a vegan milk in Sweden. So in Sweden, they are totally boycotted because the stakeholders, they support the deforestation in Amazon. So in Sweden, total boycott. But in other countries, they are still okay. But the canceling culture. So brands should be aware of the canceling culture. That will be.
Thank you, Dr. Vidi. Wawa, do you have anything to say?
And I think the damage is contemporary in certain countries, because to me, back to education, back to awareness, and back to the price. Because even though the brand is alleged to be greenwashing, but if you know the brand, they have stylish outfits, the designs, it looks like designer brands, but they sell it with very, very cheap prices. And if the brands are alleged of greenwashing, I think the damage is really contemporary and only give effects to certain groups who are really aware and who really care and really wants to take care of the environment. And I think in Malaysia, especially, all we have to do is to educate and educate, because I think only certain audience who are willing to spend more, who are willing to boycott brands who say that they take care of the environment, but in the end, it's all fraud. I think the impact is little in certain countries. Yeah, and the damage is just contemporary.
Thank you, Wawa. Okay, I think now it's time for us to field some questions from the audience. Okay, the first question is from Husna. I understand that Scandinavians are taught from a young age regarding sustainability and are willing to pay more for a more eco-friendly product. However, for us in the third world, does capitalism play a role in sustainable practice among common people like us who can barely afford switching everyday products to a more sustainable one? I think what Husna is trying to ask is that you have this line in the center, you have developed countries and, well, quote unquote, rich economies on one side, and you have emerging economies, third world, and poorer countries on the other side. Of course, we have come across instances where the advanced countries have preached or are preaching to the emerging economies or third world countries that this is what you should do A, B, and C. However, what they have forgotten is that they have done the exact thing years ago, but now they are sitting on a soapbox to go and preach to the others. So, but everything comes down to the price point, okay? I think this thing about this t-shirt or greeting card, where the price difference between that from a sustainable source and that from a regular paper or normal t-shirt, there's a great disparity in the price. The thing is that how can you educate people to go and part with their hard-earned money, those living in emerging economies and third world countries, to opt for a product from a more sustainable source? I think if I can encapsulate that, I think that's what Husna is asking. Would anyone like to take that question? Dr. Vidi, would you like to take that question?
Yes. Well, that's right. But we have to remember that environment is not the only part of sustainability. Yeah, because they are social and there are 17 indicators in the SDG goals. So even in the SDGs goals toward 2030, they don't expect the whole 193 countries of the United Nations to be as the same rank as the Sweden, Norway, or Finland up to 86, or they set a global average of 70. So it means that for those countries who are still struggling, let's say in having a better materials, they could focus on other indicators. For example, the quality of education. They could start to educate their younger generation to be more aware. Some other countries, they're already aware, have a strong awareness, but for some countries with the rank below like 100s or in the SDGs ranking, they could start from other aspects of SDGs. For example, quality of education, or like what happened in Borneo is a life on land. So they focusing in how to protect the orangutan. Yeah, so there are still ways. It is not a must for every country to be like Sweden, Finland, and Norway as the top 3 in the SDGs countries ranking. So there are other 17 part. So they could prioritize those indicators while keep progressing to be better for the planet on the way. So keep progressing, but still focus on one thing and then keep progressing.
So I guess emerging economies and third world countries, we are on the right track, but it'll take time for us to reach that goal.
I read the SDGs report on Indonesia. So they're still, the score is still 60, but the initiative to get better is 98%, probably. So, so yeah, it is a fresh breath air. So the initiative, the willingness is 98% to be care more about the environment.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Vidi. We have another question from a Dr. Sufyan Hadi. With sustainable agenda being thrust from left to right to center and back, does this mean it's the end for print media, by extension, print advertising? Okay. Oh, by the way, I'm one of those who still needs to feel the newspapers, and I still have my 2 newspapers arrive at my doorstep at 5:30 every morning. So I would like to pose this question to Omar, who has been in the industry long enough to give a comment.
Thank you, Prabha, and thank you, Dr. Sufyan. My simple answer is no. I think the print media is still going to be around. It might be a niche media, but it's not going to just fade away because of people like Prabha and even me, for that matter. Yeah, I think it's interesting even what Dr. Vidi said earlier about social media and all that, because you will still need traditional media, whether it's outdoor newspaper and all that. So I don't think it's going to go away. But then the question is, if we want to save planet Earth, if we want to reduce our carbon footprint, by right, there shouldn't be any more hard copies of newspaper. But that's a bigger subject. That's why we need to have a sustainable source, when you want to print newspapers or anything for that matter. Yeah, that means for every tree that you cut, you have to plant another tree and all that, because that's towards the net carbon zero as well. Yeah, that's my answer. Yeah.
Thank you, Omar. And next question, and this is also from Husna. What are your thoughts on eco-consumerism, i.e. switching to metal straw, bringing own bags, and how does it help so little to help reduce carbon footprint compared to big companies that are responsible for more than 50% of global carbon emissions? Surya, would you like to take this question?
Well, I think that's a tough question, but to me, I think
no, it's just give your
sure. No worries. My thought is very simple, right? I think we shouldn't look at these two things collectively. I think that the eco-consumerism has its role. Totally agree that the big corporations have still not really fully put their weight right on reducing their carbon footprint, for instance, right? But I think consumerism, like switching to metal straw, bring own bags, and all these, like their contribution is different, right? It's a part of creating a wave, creating the awareness, right? Creating the pressure for people to start adopting a more eco-friendly lifestyle, right? I think it adds to the wave of people who start recycling and all this, right? To create that movement. So I wouldn't discount their contribution, in changing the way business is being conducted and how we live our life, right? I think like in Penang, for example, it's like almost in first world country, like everyone's expected to bring their own bag. Like when I go there quite frequently, right? every time I'm in Penang, I feel bad if I don't bring a bag. You know, like it's almost a sin. You know, it feels sinful to ask, like, do you have a plastic bag? Because I forget to bring, you know, my own bag. And I think it should be continued, and it's something commendable. Yeah. So the other part need to be fixed, but we shouldn't ridicule this effort.
Thanks, Surya. Actually, interestingly, I read a report, and I think was it BBC Online or somewhere, that during the pandemic, the 18 months or 24 months of it, the amount of waste packaging,
Exactly.
I
never thought I can have that many boxes.
Yes, whether it's food or parcels or whatever, across the world, it was mountains of it, and it had to go somewhere. And the funny thing is that because of the lockdown in many countries, you could not even dispose of it properly. So it was just like literally discarded anywhere. Okay, I have a question, and this is for all. Could y'all cite any or which are the local brands of Malaysia or Indonesia that where sustainability is more of a must than a catchphrase? We will start with Wawa. Okay, since Wawa, yeah, any or whichever local brands where sustainability is a must and it's not just a catchphrase.
Okay.
Could you cite or think of any brands that have actually walked the talk?
Okay. One of the local brands is House Boom. It's a carbonated drink, and they use this glass bottle, and they've worked with certain restaurants, and they give rewards to their customers who bring back their bottles, who give back their bottles to the HQ. And Body Shop and MAC cosmetic product does the same. And I think it is very good for local brands to do that, because it excites the people to buy and to keep the bottles instead of throwing it back, and they reuse and recycle the glass bottles. House Boom.
Thank you. Dr. Vidi, are there any brands in Indonesia where sustainability is actually a practice and not just a catchphrase?
Yes. Do you have sosro or teh bottle in Malaysia? Because yeah, that brand, particularly that brand, is becoming one of the top brand that is acknowledged for being eco-friendly or toward green recovery. Because first, they are very specific. They start with small things. Focus on, because it's a tea package, so it's plastic made. So they admitted their sin, but yeah, they are trying to fix the material to be a recyclable in the future. But while waiting for that plan, they are focusing on SDGs number 4, quality in education. So starting in 2013, they initiated the Sekolah Sehat, the healthy school, nationally. So this is a very good initiative. So while waiting for a better material, they are trying to educate the future generation. So I think, yeah, Sosro or Teh Botol is one of the companies that they are going there.
Thank you, Dr. Vidi. Surya, can you cite any local brands?
I think there's a lot of local brands. I think the trend right now in Malaysia, at least, I think I'm sure it's pretty much global as well. If you want to be public listed, right, you need to make sure, if you want to get into IPO, you need to make sure you have a sustainability plan in your business, right? So it has become crucial, for big companies that wishes to be public listed, right? Because it's the future, right? Sustainability used to be a catchphrase. Now it's the future. It's getting more in demand. And more companies like, that has sustainability specialist, sustainability department in their country, governing their own carbon footprint, carbon emission, and so on and so forth, right? To cater, because it's important to investors, right? Investors come from everywhere around the world, and so sustainability has become very important. So for me, I have to quote my wife's the company that my wife works in, which is Axiata. So they've done a lot of things. They even changed their, like in some countries, their telco towers that used to be made from metal, they have turned it into bamboo. So they collaborate with University of Dhaka in Bangladesh, right? So they created telco towers that is created by bamboo. Not only it's more eco-friendly, it also caters. So they have like a bamboo farm that builds all these. So it helps with the other SDGs, right? Your poverty, your society, your gender equality, because it provides job opportunity and all. So yeah, to me, I just mentioned Axiata, and I'm sure.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Surya. I learned a few things in from your comments. Omar, would you like to add something about the local brands?
Not so much on the local brand, but I know, for example, this is a brand that exists in this country and we probably hold in our palm every morning, that Starbucks. I'm not sure about in Malaysia, but in US, in some other markets, they actually recycle the cups and all that, and it's a big thing. And it's not like a small initiative, it's a huge initiative where they have to do a lot of processes, use like high-end machineries and all that. So this is part and parcel of what is called the circular economy, where while economy grows, consumption grows. That doesn't mean that resources has to grow. So one way is to recycle back those resources so that you don't exhaust or deplete what is already in existence. Yeah.
Thank you, Omar. I can confidently say we have learned deep insights from different perspectives on our theme, sustainability, a catchphrase or a must for brands. On behalf of IAA Malaysia, I would like to thank our panelists, Suryadi Pura Saleh, Dr. Vidi Sukmayadi, Howard Rizwan, and Inchek Omar Shari. Omar, can you play your 2 videos now, please? Okay, a big thank you to UITM on being a tertiary education partner full of ideas. IAA Malaysia would also like to thank media owners who have assisted to publicize this event, Laguna and Spectrum for their out-of-home digital screens, and Marketing Magazine for its industry-wide information blast. We would also like to thank Hamimda Agil, Head of Education on the Executive Council of IAA Malaysia and lecturer at UITM, on being the lead organizer for the Future Leaders series. Mim, a few words from you.
It was an honor to have all of our panelists and moderator today. We know your time is precious and we immensely grateful you were able to carve out some time with us. I also would like to thank IAA Malaysia, Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, UPI, our friends from Indonesia, hello, and thank you so much. And all participants, for your supports, and thank you for helping make this season 2 of Future Leaders series a great success, and we look forward to seeing you at future events. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Mim. Also, a big thank you to Eng Lilian, member of the IAA Malaysia Exco. Now, often enough, we always wonder who makes all the backroom possible. Well, Gary Tay, Head of Digital Media on the Exco, has worked feverishly over the last 2 months on the publicity material, the publicity, and this live session. IAA Malaysia cannot thank you enough, Gary. Future Leaders series will continue. Look out for news in a few months. To all those who have participated, thank you, and I hope all of you found this session informative. Have a good night.